AQAvit meeting, May 15th. This is representing a time where we've haven't met since after the January CPU. There's been a March feature release and a April CPU that's happened since we last met. And we were going to take a look in today's call around some of the focus areas that are happening in the second quarter, of which we're kind of well into the first month and a half of second quarter. So I think what's going to happen today, based on this proposed agenda, is a few short demos, because a lot of people have been able to make progress on a lot of things over the last month and a half. And then we'll leave if we have time at the end for AOB, any other business for stuff that didn't make it onto this proposed agenda. Does that sound good? And I guess, Lan, I moved you to the top. Maybe you want to start us off with some of the excellent TRSS enhancements that have happened
Sure.
the last.
Yeah, I will keep it quick.
Great.
Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I was looking at the PRs that we have. Actually, we have quite a lot of TRSS enhancement since our last meeting. In general, some key updates. We did performance improvement for TRSS that includes the indexing of database. We changed some asynchronous calls to promise.all. And then there's some lazy load also added into TRSS. Those are all working together to boost the performance of TRSS. I did a measurement after, I think it's at least 35 times faster than before. Of course, as come to performance, there's always more we can do. But for now, that's what we have. And then presumably in the future, we will continue working on the performance as we see as we have more new features, and we'll see what needs to target the most. In addition to that, we also have advanced search that's added. So that's basically, I haven't updated the production server yet, which I should have. So for this advanced search, I just quickly show it in my local. We added on the left menu, we had the advanced search, then user be able to, this is basically, you can type it, but there is autofill like for people. So if you, like me, I like to choose, I don't like to type. So you can choose the test that you want to search. This is allowed you to search across multiple pipelines. In the by pipeline view, if you remember, we'd be able to allow the user to search within one particular pipeline, but this one allows you to search on multiple. So the idea of this is to allow the user to see cross-platform, do I have failures? So do I have failures in this example, auto mode 1 test? Does it fail in JDK 11 and as well as JDK 17? So this has allowed people to do the cross pipeline search. And then quickly to mention that we have rescan build API. This is basically for advanced user. If you notice certain build is not populated correctly, then we can use this rescan build API to repopulate it in the database. The last one I want to mention is the retry logic. I think originally the logic was if there is for returned, we will try 3 times. By the way, if you have for return, it can be like Jenkins is down, all that stuff. And then TRSS will try 3 times and then we will stop because we don't want to overload the Jenkins server. However, this may not be sufficient if Jenkins is constantly down or like in this particular case. So what we did is instead of stopping retry, it's basically we will put this build back into the queue. And we also will differentiate the return error, whether it's the build doesn't exist anymore, or it's the Jenkins that's down. Because in the case where the build is no longer exist, then there's no point of retrying. But if in a case where it's Jenkins temporarily down, then that means we need to try it again at a later stage to get the console output of the build. So that's basically the retry. I think also I think Shelly added the sync job. Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Well, just to mention that it wasn't, the old sync job wasn't using, now that we are hosting the instance in a Docker image and in fact database in a separate image, and they're all kind of connected on the server. I've updated the sync job script that's in Aqua Test Tools repo to use the Docker commands to do that. And I've not enabled it to run on a schedule yet because we were still waiting for April release to finish and I didn't want to bring down the server. Now we're well past that. So I think I'll run that manually first and then put it on the same schedule we had previously, which is once a week. So that will pick up automatically some of the updates that are coming into the Aqua Test Tools repo. Unless anyone has any suggestions on changing that. I think that once a week update worked well. So that's 2Q for sure. And results summary improvements. I know these ones are kind of focus areas in our 2Q. Not yet done bullet point under TRSS enhancements will include an update to the release summary report. Right now, there's a couple of issues, open issues in Aqua Test Tools where we know we can improve the readability and the sorting and add a table at the top of that report. Since that's how we're starting to use it in GitHub, I think it would be valuable just to update the report to that format. But if you have suggestions there, I'll, after the meeting here, add the link to those issues where you can put comments. Great. Yeah, thanks, Len. That's just
no
been an
problem.
incredible amount of improvements. And I can attest that the TRSS instance at Adoptium is running much faster. So thanks for your work on that.
Oh, no problem. Any questions regarding the enhancement in general? If not, then I think I'll pass to Sophia to talk about some of the gathering the artifacts. Sophia?
Hi, yes, so we have enhancement about improve our process to gathering the tab file, the test result artifacts. I'm not sure if I should.
I think you should demo it.
If you don't mind doing a short one, that would be helpful. Yes.
Okay, because it's still in progress.
Yeah, but it gives us a sense, and we won't meet again until well after it's delivered. So.
Sure.
And I guess for everyone who's on the call, these test anything protocol TAP files are the artifact that we use that contains information about what tests were run, what machines they were run on, what product was under test, and what test material was used. So they have a lot of evidence that we want to keep as artifacts after a test run.
Yeah, so for improvement, we like to first when the release is done, we have to do the triage, so has all the grinders tab file available. So we'd like to first to grab the the common issue, the issue is here. So the basic process is we grab all the tab files running by the pipeline job, upstream pipeline job. So we have already make it available to grab the that tab files result as a one zip file, including all the different platform and the different test levels. And then we'd like to, this also include the rerun jobs, the tab file we already done. And then we will go to the release triage, the release triage issue, and grab all the rerun all the granders tab files, and then this is in progress. And then the next step would be would like to set up a job which will grab the upstream pipeline tab file and all the tab files from the release triage issue as an attachment, and then do the verify at last to integrate to one final zip file, which can be used our release tool to upload to the our release repo. So yeah, basically currently we have done two jobs. One is for the upstream tab file archive, and the other one, because we have a new feature about the rerun build, we also need to, it's already been done, to grab the rerun jobs tab file. Yeah, so that's basically, I think first step, we have done two, and there's
Yeah, that's great.
more.
Already you've taken away some of the manual steps that we were doing as part of the release, so that's wonderful work. And do say that we've saved a lot of time with turning on that auto rerun, where, you know, we would be landing on things that were machine issues and not having to run grinders manually. So this is great work, and I know it builds upon, for the verification, the stuff Lan had put in, and with this additional work that you've done, Sophia, release is going to be so much easier. Thank you. That's fantastic. Who do we have up next? We have, we'll move on to some new tests that are being added. I know we have another Sophia on the call. Sophia, did you want to mention about the Mosquito test case that you're looking at adding?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I also share my screen.
Yeah, great.
Need to. I'm not sure, but it seems I cannot share my screen. Oh, it works.
Ah, there we go. It's starting to come in.
So this Mosquito test case is newly required by the developer team. So there are two like open Gen9 user issues, crash with Java 21.0.42. One is a segmentation error, and another one is for the JUnit 1. So we have already finished the first step, which is to finish the segmentation error by adding the Mosquito test in the first test case. Yeah, and it is now could be identified by the Java 21, and also we tested Java 8 and also 11 and 17 with different platforms as well. And the next step would be adding the JUnit Mosquito test as our next step. Yeah, and it is now in progress, and hopefully we can just like trying to finish by end of this week or early next week. So it could be released in the next version. Yeah, so it's pretty short for this Mosquito test case. Oh, by the way, it is newly created a folder under functional test. Yeah, so we build a build file and also the playlist. Yeah, and also we test it on the grinder. Yeah, that's all for this.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a great example of adding new test material where you have to handle the addition of new dependencies. So you had updated the get dependencies piece and make sure that you're checking a checksum.
Yes.
So it's really, really good work. And it looks like you learned all about adding new test material
my first
through
test case
this.
for adding for this QA
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
Really
Thank you.
good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks, Sophia. This is really good. This because those two are the user raised issues that at OpenGNI, but the test is general for all JVM implementations. So
Mhm.
it's great. But on the related note, Shelley, I was thinking to create a documentation in regarding of adding new test, as
Yeah.
in the rules that people to follow, or like
Uh-huh.
how to
Yeah.
create a new issue, where to start, what if there's an additional infrastructure requirement, you know, where, like, for example, where, like, how we should add into the dev level and then graduate.
Yes,
to
exactly.
different
And
level.
you'll see that I put some of that criteria into an open issue
Mhm.
in the Aqua test repo for the JTReg buffer tests,
Mhm, mhm.
because there seemed to be a lot of rules broken, but realizing that we hadn't documented the rules.
Right. And then
So it does require documentation, and it will, I think, need to require us to be more firm about
mhm.
you can't be installing random dependencies in the
Right.
test material below us
Right.
that we don't know about, because, and it relates to a thing that's at the end of the agenda for today.
Right.
So
The
maybe we can start
reproducibility.
with that. We can start with that set of criteria that's in that one issue. I'm in the process of doing a bunch of documentation right now, and that was on my to-do list. Currently, I'm just adding wiki pages because
Mhm.
they're fast and I can get things up. But I intend to move all those wiki pages into our docs folder once
Yeah.
I've created them and gotten reviews.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
I think yeah, related to the test reproducibility that you mentioned later on the agenda, we need to track those additional repos and branches so that we can, first of all, can reproduce for each release or iFixes, and then also our test pipeline is ensure that our test pipeline is stable.
yes, exactly. As we found. So I think it's a good sign that we have people trying to add test material. But it definitely needs more constraints and guidance around it so that we're not living in the Wild West. Yeah. But anyway, thank you, Sophia, for adding this, because it does also mean that we can consider adding other Mockito tests into this playlist, and since now we're pulling in those dependencies, there's an opportunity for more testing under this folder. So that's a great
Yeah,
initial
thank you.
step.
Thank you, Shelley and Dan.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Great.
you.
I'll just
All right, and good. We've just made more work for ourselves too with the documentation. Okay, we also have enable reproducible. Yes, Sophia. I know the Sophias are really rocking this section. Sophia, did you want to say just a word about the
Yeah,
reproducible tests?
yeah. So I may not just to share screen because it's quite a quick update.
Yeah.
So it's now it's ready this morning, but I just changed it to the as a draft because I think there's one more thing I need to update to make it more reliable. So that is for the reproducible comparison test on Windows, which
Right.
is a little bit similar to the Linux one. So if we do the document about adding the test in different repo, like this one is in the Tamarind build
Tamarind
repo,
builds. Yeah.
maybe we can take a look about like first how we add that Linux one, and then this Windows one is similar.
Nice.
Yeah, so it should
So
be.
what I heard you just say was you're volunteering to add a section to the documentation. Okay, I might have heard wrong, but
Yeah, I can do that. It's mainly focused on like if the test will be added to the different repo other
yes,
than the
exactly.
AQAvit.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's a
Mhm.
subsection of what of this that we're talking
Yeah.
about. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And for everyone's awareness, I believe these tests, the checking whether or not a JDK build is reproducible, pulls in a build and pulls in the SBOM for that build, takes the information out of the SBOM to rebuild the build, and then does a byte for byte comparison to see are the two things identical. So it's really quite a succinct but remarkable test that we hope will help us with the secure development initiatives at the project. So great. Okay, let's keep moving down the agenda. I know we're not sharing it. I hope everyone has the link for it. The next, let's see. Oh, TKG, Anna.
Yeah.
Some great enhancements from Anna.
Should I share my screen?
Yeah, if you're willing to do so, that'd be great.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can. Can you hear us? There we go. We see your screen.
Is it audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it audible for everyone?
We hear you, but you don't hear us.
Not here. So basically, what I'm doing is I've added a support to detect the set Linux versions, microarchitecture versions, which is set 13, set 14, set 15, and set 14, 13, 15 plus, where you can be used to permanently enable and disable test as used with the platform requirements here. So as you can see, it is, you can add the platform requirements like arc 390s.set 15 plus, and we can disable also which I have to add the test case for it. Yeah, that is one. Major update in TKG to support set Linux versions. And then is it audible?
Yes.
Yeah. And the next one which I have worked on, and it's a work in progress, which is pre-staging the system tests third-party jars. This will actually solve the system test prerequisite problems which is happening due to the machine. So what we are actually doing is we are actually pre-staging third-party system jars for system test by using get dependencies in TKG. So we download the system test jars from there, and if from either from system test get dependency jar which is running, and we will be pre-staging it into a system lib folder. So it does work under progress. Working on the use case of running the tests locally as well. So currently working on it. While Jenkins, I've done the necessary changes in Jenkins. And the other one is the get dependency.pl, where we are hard coding the ci.ed.tm.net as a Jenkins URL. Instead of that, we will be leveraging the use of get Jenkins domain so that any vendors can make use of their Jenkins domain. So that being said, we have to be sure that they have the test.get dependency job ran. So yeah, that's some of the updates.
That's great. And I don't know if you can hear me, Anna, but that's really fundamentally important again, to be able to
Any
reduce the
questions?
amount of downloads. So I don't think Anna can hear us, but if people have questions, maybe type them into the chat.
Yeah. So I think I just want to say a couple of words about the changes that Anna did. So the first one, it really allowed us to be able to know the microarchitecture of a platform. So if you want to dive in to specific machines, you can. And then this is also paved a way in the future if you want to, having other type of microarchitecture, then you can just follow the path and add in that. For the pre-staged system test, it's basically for platform, basically to deal with the network issues, as you guys know that we're running so many tests every single day, and we have encountered several network issues were causing downloading the third-party jars to be a problem. So we did changes for majority of the test third-party jars except the system test. So Anna's work is right now, it's basically also pre-stage system test on Jenkins machine. So we don't have to re-download for every test runs. The last, it's more, we want to make sure that all the vendors are aware of this change. Because before we're basically pointing at adopt.dm get test dependencies to download all the third-party jars. But the good thing is, well, we know that all the jars are there, but the downside for that is all the vendors around the world basically tied to the adopt.dm get dependency. So if they want to change the get dependency to their specific branch, they cannot do so. So that's why we untied this dependency. So now we're depending on each vendor's its own Jenkins server. So that means that each vendor should make sure that they have this test.get dependency job created in their own Jenkins server. So we will basically query that job to get the third-party dependencies.
And I guess this can be an addition to the documentation that we're working on now, how to add the get dependencies job to your Jenkins server.
Right.
So, and that's is great because we know that especially the working group members in China are often have a hard time getting to our server, or it's slow.
Right.
And so fantastic, great. I know we're at time. I'm wondering if people could have the ability to stay a little bit longer so we can get through at least some of the other stuff on the agenda. How are people looking?
I'm okay.
Yeah, okay, let's push through to get and we'll just try to fly real quick, but I want to hit some of the points. Sophia Go, you have also improved the granularity and reporting of test case results, and we really feel the impact of that work. You want to say a few words about that?
Hi. Yeah, again, just a quick update for that. So before we only have the test target result. So right now for the OpenJDK and the GCK, we enable that test case result summary, which means for every run, for all the per test target, we have the test cases, some result, like how many test cases passed, how many skipped, how many failed. And we also have that overall test cases for all the targets, how many passed, how many failed, how many skipped. So which the information is output to the console output and also archived to the tab file. Also for the field test case, we also give the specific information which field, which test name is failed. So I think that would be helpful for us to, like, when we improve the granularity, and which can be consumed either by the TRSS or by other like Jenkins plugin to provide those information. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think the implication here is we could look at if it was a simple case of, say there was a test run and then a test target failing, that had 2 test cases failing in it, we could even auto rerun the 2 test cases if they were all part of the same group, if they were both JDK test cases, for example. So it could really improve the execution times of some of our pipelines as we look at that. And I guess the other impact here would be in TRSS where we have a test target failing, and it's failing, and you can see that in deep history, having the visibility of whether the number and the test cases that were failing within that target changed over time. So that's something that is probably next on the docket as we leverage this work that you've done. So really, really good. Thank you so much, because I know it's improved how quickly we can get through a release. Yeah. Any questions around that? Have people started to use and enjoy that? I've noted others within Red Hat at the Adoptium project have definitely liked it.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's quickly let you see all the failures or pass or fail in the console output, so you don't really have to rely on tab plugins. So that's pretty neat, I think.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sophia.
yeah, really good.
Okay.
So well, the next one is metrics, and I think G had to drop to go to another call. Do I see? He's not on the call now, I don't think. But he has made some progress. Some of the metrics that he's looking at listing are in that issue now that I've added to the agenda. I think next time we come around, he'll be able to do a demo of some of the stuff he's gathering. And one of the other things I think he was looking at gathering was during a release, if we have to end up running a bunch of grinders, even counting the number that are required, because that, you know, can make or break how quickly we can finish triaging a release. And I think at this point in time, it indicates almost a metric against the stability of the machines we're using. But it's definitely something that we can track over time and include in our scorecard reports at the end of a release period. So expect that we'll get some updates before the end of 2Q from G on that one. I'll jump quickly now to semesters of code projects. Yay! We don't quite know what it means to have 3 project proposals accepted, but thanks to Lan for submitting on behalf of the AQAvit project 3 project submissions. All of them have been accepted by semesters of code. What we think happens next, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lan or Longyu, because I know you've read some of this in detail, and we've onboarded Sophia Go as well and Hendrik Evers as additional mentors. We think that the students now take a look at all of the project proposals and select what project they'd like to work on. So we don't know for sure if that means all projects will get selected now that they're accepted as part of the list, or if it's going to be dependent on how many students there are and that kind of thing. But we do know that the onboarding process is supposed to happen within the next week. So expect to hear a little more details if you're one of the named mentors on these. Did you have other things to add, Lan or Longyu or Sophia?
No, I haven't heard anything back from CMU yet. But yes, I am excited. We're gonna have a really, really busy summer, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully it'll be similar to our CAN OSP projects where we have skilled practitioners that can help us move forward on some of the stuff that we never get to do because we're always going from release to release.
Yes.
Yeah, great. And then test reproducibility, I had mainly put that here in the list because it had implications around some of the stuff we're seeing with adding new tests and not tracking dependencies and prereqs properly. So I think we'd already mentioned this in a bullet point above around adding new tests, that we'll have to get some documentation in place and ensure that the criteria for new tests is met around how you bring in new prereqs and how they have to be tracked. Because this relates to test reproducibility, relates also to software development security. If we are letting people just randomly install prereqs and jars onto test machines, that isn't necessarily good. And it's especially bad if someone who's using our stuff is both building and testing on the same machine. And in some cases at Adoptium, that's true, because we don't have enough machines on certain platforms to have those machines separated. That means that there's an opportunity to insert malicious stuff, and we don't want that. So we need to kind of batten down the hatches on this one. So expect that we'll have some more stuff. Last couple of items really quick. Trestle Initiative, it's targeted for 2Q. I'll put a link to what it is. I've had it on hold for a while, but I'm hoping to help onboard some OpenJDK developers who work at our working group, at the companies that are members of our working group, so they can test some of their feature branches directly on our infrastructure, which is another reason why we have to make sure that we have test reproducibility and locking down the dependencies a bit more. Finally, documentation. I will put links to some of this new stuff. And I have produced what I thought was going to be a lightning talk, but turns out to be a 40-minute triage presentation. It's been uploaded yesterday to YouTube, so I'll put some links here. Please feel free to add more comments, either in this issue or in the overall EPIC issue around documentation for stuff that we're missing, because I'll just keep slamming some more documentation out, and then really probably be asking people to help flesh out pieces that are left as work in progress. So that was all I was going to say. Lots of talking. Do we have any other business that we wanted to cover today? It sounds like a no. Sounds like you probably are all very tired from all the accomplishments that you've been managing to do over the last month and a half. Really
know, I
great
was-
job.
was looking at our last AQAvit meeting was in March.
I think it was just before March.
Right,
the week-
so
yeah.
I am really impressed. Like in 2 months, we have so much stuff accomplished.
Yeah,
Everyone,
because
great
yeah,
work.
what is it? A small but mighty group of commuters and contributors. Very good. All right, well, let's call it here. I'll stop the recording. I'll add the link to the recording to this meeting minutes and any other additional links that were mentioned in the call. But thanks so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Yep.